Welcome to Healthy Futures in Milford. We are blessed today to have a guest from Community Impact Incorporated, Amy Leone. Welcome, Amy.
Hi.
I'm Lisa Vassell, and I work with the entire group of the Healthy Futures. I try very hard to do as much as I can with the community, and luckily we get to have this wonderful show that has different guests and different subjects about the community itself. One of the things that we talked about in the spring was this, I'm sure you've read this report. It was a report that we all went over in the committee. The Milford students were able to fill out. It's an adolescent health survey put out in Metro West by the Education Development Center. And one of the biggest things that we were surprised by, although not totally surprised, I guess more surprised by why and how, was the increase in reporting of self-injury, cyberbullying, considering suicide, and this was all through all different grades. And so I guess one of the reasons I thought I'd have you come in today was to talk a little bit about this. Have you seen things in your practice working with adolescents in, as far as trends are concerned, with these type of self-reporting or even people coming into your office with these kind of complaints?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, over the course of the year, we've definitely seen more kids coming in much more stressful, complaining about anxiety or depression, or having the parents call because they found out that they're now cutting. And one of the things that when you start to attribute back to, you know, when did the cutting behavior start or what kind of precipitated it, what we're finding a lot in our practice with some of the adolescents starting, you know, from 7th grade all the way up, but it seems to be most prominent with like those 7th, 8th graders, that they really have these high expectations for themselves. They're really searching for this type of perfectionism, and you know, they get very frustrated by any type of negative feedback that they receive and not knowing how to cope with it. And so from when you look at a lot of different research, or even when they're on Facebook or Tumblr or any of these different websites, they have all these blogs about how much like cutting relieves your stress and it will do this for you, or you know, something like that, that then they just catch on and they experiment with it. And then if it works for them, it starts to just continue to be a habit that's formed. So we're definitely seeing a lot more depression, anxiety, self-injury, and then as they get older, it's starting to move into substance issues. So we're seeing that a lot this year, more cases than we have in the past. So.
And you touched base on the Tumblr and Twitter, and I'm seeing Instagram and other things happening. What kind of things could we talk about as the community, and those of us in Healthy Futures reaching out in education with the community, as to support these young kids, the adolescents, and as they get older? I guess A, what are we looking for? B, is there something that we can do, whether we watch over them, you know, that whole secrecy thing? Where does that leave us as the caretakers?
I think like one of the things, I mean, definitely like Tumblr is almost like a blog that kids will just write on. And so you can blog about different types of things such as cutting, or it could be about a music group that you follow and you love or whatever. But it's basically like an online journal, and people will repost or post about, you know, different things that they relate to. It's very strong among like the kids who have eating disorders or body image issues. There's pictures that you can repost. And I think basically asking your children to see their Tumblr account, to be able to look at what they're posting and what they're blogging, making sure that you have the passwords to things. Like I know Instagram is another one. You know, there's different, you can post pictures and make comments and stuff, but as a parent, you pay the cell phone bill, or you pay the cable bill or the internet bill, that you should be able to see those things too. And I think also as a community, understanding and teaching the kids, like in some of my girls group, we're working on, I have a DBT group, which is basically teaching kids coping mechanisms to deal with either eating disorders or self-injury or depression or whatever their emotional needs are, and really teaching them what it means by the different posts that they're posting on Facebook, like their different statuses, and how there are different messages that can be perceived by what they're posting. whether it's like somebody's posting like something that's informative or interesting, you know, maybe it's a link to an article. And then you go into the whole thing about how many of the posts that you read that's on your news feed are kind of like narcissistic. They're trying to get some, you know, attention. They're craving attention and posting something. And as a parent, those are the things you want to be aware of, because some of the kids are posting statuses that are very attention seeking and they're craving that attention, and that can be one of the signs that we need to, you know, to watch out for what's going on, or what is that, you know, message actually meaning. Or there's jealousy. I mean, so many things that you read when when you read some of the adolescents posting, there's very jealous induced postings where they're jealous of somebody who has something else, or someone who got onto a team that they didn't get onto, or, you know, something where they're trying to create an image for themselves that they're not, but they're wanting to be perceived that way. So it's really teaching them and understanding what all these statuses mean, because it can lead you into understanding more about what your child is doing or what they're going through, and some of that frustration that they're having. And so it's really a lot of education and understanding as a community to really, or as a parent, to just know what's going on with your kids.
And it's hard to keep up with, because I know whether they change their passwords or, you know, as a parent of 3 teenagers, it's hard to even know which sites are popular now. You know, with adolescents, a lot of them don't do Facebook anymore. They're right into Instagram, or they're right into the Tumblr, or they're right into the tweets. And do you ever talk to the kids that when you're counseling with them or in these groups, do you ever talk to them about appropriate posting or unfriending things that are not necessarily?
We definitely talk about like their posts, and sometimes I'll even have, like, in individual sessions, have them bring up their Facebook or their Tumblr or whatever, so that we can actually look at it together and, you know, ask them what were they thinking when they posted that, or what made them, you know, feel that they needed to post a status like that or a blog like that or something, so that they can look at it from another perspective. Because, you know, as they're posting it, they're all emotional, or, you know, they're happy or sad or anxious or whatever. And so stepping back and being able to be in that moment to say, okay, how could this be perceived by other people?
Right, but even the perception of, say, you aren't invited to a party, or even if it's just a cookout during the summer, whatever it may be, and this person is supposed to be a friend of yours, you're not invited, and yet there's 17 pictures on Twitter or on Instagram, and you're not there. And right away, that sort of immediate pressure with social media is so relevant that it wasn't 10, 15, 20 years ago. They didn't have that kind of in your face.
Right. And now, you know, it's very, and even with the tweets, because everybody's getting a tweet that says, you know, party at such and such, but you're not included, or what, you know, things like that. So we really talk about in some of the groups, or even individual, talk about how do you cope with that fact that you're kind of left out, or how do you deal with that, you know, lack of being included. And do you, you know, speak up to your friends and say how you felt, or do you kind of like defriend them, or whatever it is, block them on Facebook, or whatever the things are? And how does that pan out? Because sometimes the kids will have more, they'll say they'll get more backlash based on the fact that they defriended them, or they then won't know what's going on if they defriend them. So how do you actually use your voice to talk about how you felt, which is the most important thing, because now kids are communicating more social media wise, versus actually having a conversation with someone. So that's one of the biggest things, is, you know, how to talk to somebody. And some kids don't know how to do that anymore.
Well, and I think that comes down to us too, right, as parents, because I can be the first to admit that sometimes I'll be trying to send something and my child will be talking to me, and so I'm to blame. I can't imagine that all grown-ups can't say at some point that they haven't been with their face on some sort of a screen, whether it be a laptop or their phone. And in that too, where I noticed a couple times when I've seen things go through my kids, and they, you know, either they'll post a picture, or a friend will post a picture, and somebody will comment back saying, "Love yourself much?" or something that's just sort of a little bit derogatory, when, you know, so many people are posting selfies and whatever. You know, that to me, I can see where that pain would come in. And then you've got the people that are posting things that are not real true, you know, these photos that are quite risque. You know, I can see where all of this might stem from. And so the community here watching besides being sort of overlooking and saying that's not okay and let's talk about that, is there anything else that we can do?
I think like as we talk about with, parents or just being a parent myself, talking to my son, he wanted Snapchat. Well, understanding the fact that how terrible that can be too, because things are gone within 5 seconds. And I think as a parent, learning more about what the internet, what is capable of doing, and kind of what, some of the different, restrictions there are, because even Snapchat, you have to be 18 to have it, but then you can put somebody else's birthday in and still get it.
Right. All of the things, yeah. And so along that same line, when you're talking with people about self-love and really truly trying to strengthen them, there is a lot of research out there about food, exercise, and how that obviously makes us all healthier.
Right.
And since this is Healthy Futures, we like to sort of pull in the fact that this is all one, table, the three legs of the table, so to speak. Is there a way that, have you ever heard of a connection with the food and mood, and how, what you put in can really change someone's?
And we definitely do a lot, like in our practice. I mean, we have a lot of looking at the different holistic view of things, whether it's, we have a yoga studio, and, so trying to look at, exercise and being present in that moment. And we ran some teen yoga classes, for the summer and starting last year, just to get the kids to get away from the cell phone, to learn what it's like to be in the moment, in their body, understanding, their emotions and what's going on. We do it also for older kids of recovery to get the exercise, but to also, we've been to ABT with athletic-based training, and we've run some self-esteem groups with Leanne over there, trying to get exercise and kind of that self-image, self-awareness, classes together. And then also looking at the food, with For Better Health, we look at that, and different vitamins that the kids are lacking, because you hear so many times that they have no vitamin D, but what other things, aren't they getting in their food diet that could be contributing to some of the emotions, and, looking at different things like that, because it's better to look at the food intake versus prescribing them some type of medication. So that's always the first thing before referring
we
them
did
off.
a quick show. One of our shows was on making smoothies and how easy it is to add in nutrients that we're lacking. Not so much take the processed food out, which would be great if we didn't go to McDonald's every day, or at least once a week. But certainly, even if you just add food, nutrients in that we're missing, and how much that can really affect. I would definitely the mood, the sleep, the energy, the grades, everything else.
Especially the sleep and just the attention too. That when you ask them, we'll do like a food inventory of what they're eating, for snacks, or what's their, when you have kids that have, body image issue, what's their safe foods. And, it could be like those Ritz crackers and peanut butter. Okay, so what else, where can you put in different things? They're eating pasta all the time and macaroni and cheese, and there's no vegetables or fruits. And how can you do that if you're on a low income budget? How can you still supplement those things? And so we definitely do that when we're in the group, really looking at, or even individually, what is the food intake, because it does have a huge, impact on what they're eating.
Yeah, and I think you were telling me that there was a couple clients that you treated, even just B vitamins, changed them from night to day.
I mean, completely different from the anxiety level, of them being very, hidden and just very closed, to coming in, a week or two later and talking in group and just being very outgoing and amazing.
That's great.
So,
thank you very much.